let me know if you have any questions or anything like that. Okay, so as I was saying, welcome. So I'm actually not gonna, I don't think, unless people are, as we go through the weeks of this kind of the series that I have, I set out an intention for our group that we do over the next sort of 10 weeks, and there were 5 weeks of movement, kind of building 1 week on the next, going through poses. So last week we did the first round of standing poses, and this next coming week we're going to do another. The meditative week, so on the off weeks, and this is being the first of it, we were going to look at the 5 aggregates, which are really just 5 groupings of human experience. Let's not, I'm going to save the half-cocked Buddhist meditation lesson for another day. We'll just park that. Not because it's not super interesting, not because it's not important, and not because it isn't useful, but let's just meditate, right? The first aggregate, what I will say is that the first aggregate is the body. Our feelings, not necessarily our feelings about the body, that actually falls into a couple of the other baskets we'll get to in other weeks, and I mean that, you know, seriously, not just facetiously. So, but really here, it's just about our sense perception of the feeling of being in our body and being connected to our body and our experience of it. And so taking that as a jumping off point, what I thought, oh, here we go, I think Larissa's joining us. Boop. Hey, Larissa. We've just you know, we've just begun, but no. So please feel free to join us midstream, like we've just begun. So yeah, the obvious kind of link, in part because it just lends itself to the meditative practice, like to tuning into our bodies, but also because I've been talking with our group for a while now about doing, oops, sorry, I'm just switching the screens around, cool. Yeah, and by all means, at this, like, we saw the screen go off, awesome, call Nicole, that's all good. Certainly in this practice, in any practice, but especially in this practice, you may want to turn the camera off. And if you're practicing later, you know, watching the recording of this, I would really suggest take this next couple of minutes while I'm just going to continue and give you a little bit of patter. But so that the time isn't wasted and we don't have anyone doing the meditative equivalent of like stomping their foot and saying, get going already. I say that because I'm married to someone who practices like that when I teach. But anyway, in any case, what I would suggest is while I'm just setting the practice up, you set you up. So for today's practice, I'm gonna actually start by getting rid of my glasses, and I raise that intentionally as well. What I'm doing, that is not just symbolic, it is an effort to get myself out of my own head to start the practice, right? So that I'm not just talking from here and I'm pointing at my temple if you're not looking at the screen, which is just fine. But I'm more talking from here, you know, like from my whole body, from my, you know, my embodied experience, okay, you might say, because that's what we're going to be playing with today. So that's a preparation I'm making. I also have a bolster, a yoga pillow, which I'm going to use. And just to be clear, I think that the thing that you could do to prepare for this practice right now, so whether you're with us live or you're watching and practicing with us in the future, as trippy as that also is to countenance, is make yourself comfortable. Okay, I suggested in the email today, if you are set up in bed, awesome, or you've got a couch by, cool. Equally, you could be, you know, like I am here on a mat with a pillow. If I was going to be practicing this, you know, on my own as a truly, you know, a relaxation practice, I would have blankets, I would have pillows. I'd get really, really comf. I would suggest, although I'm not going to be able to do it because I am broadcasting and because I'm recording, I can't turn down the lights. In fact, I've turned them up, but you don't need to. So please feel free to turn the lights off completely or to dim them. Now, in terms of getting things super comfortable, you might want to adjust the temperature if you can control that, you know, whatever it is. And I would say, you know, if there are people in your vicinity, maybe hopefully you've already let them know, but that this is time for you, okay? That you're going to take some time just to practice. And not just to practice, All right, so what I was going to say there is two things. One, if you want to or feel the need to shift or adjust during the practice, I think that that's absolutely fine, okay? It certainly is preferable to having an itch on your left ankle and spending, you know, 20 minutes obsessing about that, like focusing on that rather than the kind of holistic practice of tuning into your body, okay? So do shift and adjust, and I may do that just to kind of demo it. I think I'm going to start sitting, but I may lie down as the practice goes on. We'll see. And me being here as a model, not really necessary. Okay, so as I had alluded to, and you can just begin to settle in. So if you're in a lying position, you're lying. And if you're in a seated position, you're sitting, okay? Big surprise, no. What I mean to say there is actually become aware of that. Okay? It's easy enough to move into a particular position on, you know, quote unquote autopilot. Okay, see, and actually I'm gonna now practice what I preach. I'm gonna immediately change my position because this is this bolster is not doing it for me today, so I'm gonna actually just lose it. So please do, okay, as things continue. And just become aware of your body. Become aware of the weight of your body as a whole, as a unit. And feel your body breathing. You might feel, so we're starting sort of, you know, if this was a camera, our awareness is like sweeping way wide, okay? Landscape of the whole sort of geography of your experience. So just allowing yourself to arrive, and let's set an intention. And here's the intention. Now you can set whatever intention you'd like for this practice, for every practice. And this one we might stack on or kind of layer on. Let's set the intention of being here. Now, knowing we're going to be distracted, thoughts are going to come up, feelings may even come up, certainly as we're scanning our bodies. And that's totally normal. And so know that you can always take a break, just come out of the practice or focus on something else, something other. So if you're feeling at all triggered by anything you're feeling in your body, open your eyes, okay? Change your position, shake it out, and then you can always rejoin us if and when you're feeling like that's a cool place to be, okay? Not that this needs to be triggering or anything. I'm hoping that this will be relaxing and or an interesting way of tuning in to what's happening in the present moment. So if your eyes aren't closed and it feels comfortable, if it doesn't feel comfortable to close them, you can leave them open, maybe just letting them sort of unfocus, like I take my glasses off and I'm already there, but whatever you need to do. And know that I'm gonna aim for about kind of 20 minutes here, okay? One final little bit of operating instruction before we get going is that it's easy enough if you're super comfortable, if the lights are down, if you've got blankets and pillows and so on, that your body will interpret all of that sort of input as it's time for rest, it's time for sleep. And in theory, that's not the case right now. It's time to meditate. We're gonna practice. And in particular, we're gonna practice paying attention sequentially to different areas or regions of our body. Now, there's lots of different ways that we might do this, but I'm gonna actually suggest today that you can do this one of a couple of different ways, okay? So you can mix this in and out as we go on if you wish, and if you wanna just go with, you know, too many options, Michael, just tell me what to do. Here's the first instruction. We're gonna begin by bringing our attention to the feelings in our toes of our right foot. So you might actually just consciously become aware of the feeling of your toes, maybe where they touch each other. And I want to throw this out really early. What if I'm not feeling anything? question. So the first practice is just to note the area, draw your attention there, and let it rest, and stay there. Like, actually get curious about what is happening. What's the temperature like? Is there pressure? Does it feel super stable and unmoving, or is it, maybe prickly with energy, or something else? What we don't need to do is to judge it, is to try to change it, is to really do anything with it. We're just resting in that particular region of our body. So if you aren't feeling anything at this point, maybe give those toes a little wiggle. And I'm wiggling my right toes right now. Now there's some feeling. I can actually feel them brushing by each other. Okay, so let's suggest that. Sometimes I'll suggest it, sometimes I won't. So if you want to stay in relative stillness, that's great. Okay, if it helps to bring either a little bit of gentle movement into each area, or you can use your hand if you can reach, and just a little bit of tactile movement, totally cool too. Okay, let's move into the foot. So down from the toes, feeling just your right foot in space. Feeling the sides, the edges of that right foot. Feeling the top of the foot. Feeling the inner arch. And if your foot is resting on a surface, you might feel the differences in the feeling of the skin on the sole of the foot a little bit tougher, or maybe more callous than other places, and that leads to different sensations. Moving our attention from the foot, with an inhale, come into your heel and your right ankle. And just linger there for a few breaths. If you are staying there, if you are not feeling it, maybe begin to circle that ankle, where you can just nod the foot up and down. Like really the movement, or bringing in some tactile sensation, it's like a yoga prop. We're just assisting our awareness. Oh yeah, there's my ankle, there's my heel. Okay. On your next breath, moving up into the back of your lower leg, so your calf. Almost like you were going to inhale up from the ankle, and yes, I know lungs are located up higher in the body, but it's kind of imagery, like the idea that we're feeling that movement up from the heel, up toward the knee, and encompassing the entirety of the calf. And noticing the sensations there. So like for me right there, because my legs have been folded, there's perspiration, there's warmth. And it might be something different, or it might not be anything. Noticing our calf. You can also point your toes up towards your knee, and that might turn your calf muscle on, and then point them down and away. Just back and forth. And if you are moving in that way, you may notice that the muscles on the return, muscles of your shin, so the opposite side of your lower leg, are engaged. Just getting interested in what's happening. Good. And then before we move on, let's sort of regroup, feeling way down to all 5 of the toes, or how many toes are there, however many we can feel. Feeling the foot, feeling the arch, feeling the top of the foot, the heel, wrapping up our lower leg, and then ending at our knee. Don't we have sometimes complicated relationships with our knees? No complication needed today. Just inhale and feel your right knee. A conduit between the lower and the upper leg. And then continue breathing up into your thigh. Feel 360 degrees of your right thigh. And let's do this sequentially. Maybe straightening the leg ever so slightly. Again, knowing that that's an optional cue. You can be just resting with the feelings of bare awareness, like no movement required. But if you straighten the leg, tensing the muscles of the front of the leg, quadriceps, and maybe releasing that. If you were to bend your knee, you might reach around with your hand and actually feel your hamstrings, the back of your leg, working a little bit, just gently, because we're not moving with any real exertion. And then blow it out to the sides. Feel your groin, feel your inner thigh. Feel your outer leg, that band of sort of tensile tissue on the outer line of your leg. And then breathe up into your hip. Feel where the leg connects to your body and really feel that connection, however that makes sense. You might actually bring your knee up and just give a few gentle circles, feeling the leg sort of moving one direction and then the other through the hip joint. And then you can let that go. The sensation, though, we can stay with, staying in that hip. Feeling the crease, that line where the abdomen ends and the hip connects to the upper leg. Now feeling across and moving your awareness across toward your pubic bone. And really there, no real drama there, we're just talking about, this sort of small area in the center, moving on that line. Inhale. You can even bring your hands, this is actually, I'm just going to point this out, this is a real, this can be a calming move, is to just bring your hands into the lowest part of your low belly so that your fingers were going to meet at your pubic bone. There are some kindness practices that mindful self-care practices that call for sort of cupping and holding at the root of our being. So up here in the upper pelvis and at the pubic bone. So you can check that out, see if you're digging that or if it's not necessary. But either way, we're going to move across and into the left hip, where the abdomen and the upper left leg meet. We're going to reverse our order here. So feeling the hamstrings of the left leg. Breathing into that. And then taking your attention through the outer leg, across that, your IT band, that ribbon of support that we have there, holding us up. Feeling the front of the thigh. So what if I said, feel all four heads of your quadriceps, like they're, this is a four-headed muscle. Don't worry about that. Again, we're not getting up into our analytical mind, but just getting curious about like, oh, what is happening in my leg? How does it feel? What's that like? And different parts of our bodies may have, sort of called to us with particular ways of experiencing them. Some of them, pleasant, some of them may be more challenging. I like to think about, the upper leg it's a strong muscle. It's consumed with holding us up through so much of the day, supporting us. So just, if any of those problematic or challenging feelings come up where you're getting judgy about yourself or feeling, whatever, we unfortunately, even though our bodies can bring us so much joy, so much capacity for experiencing life, can also be a real repository of doubt and shame and judgment itself, self-judgment especially. So if you notice that creeping in, just send it to, let's again, if that sounds corny, sending love to your thigh, try it. Okay? Try it out. Next breath, we're going to move down the leg, connecting to the knee. Maybe noticing its companion, the right knee, where we traveled earlier. You feel both knees in space. Then return just to the left and travel down the front of your left lower leg, your shin. Circle across the back of the leg. And again, you can certainly be pointing the toes, the heel. Many of us have a tendency to hold a lot of tension. Again, this isn't necessarily emotional tension, it's footwear related tension. So, this can be the kind of thing where you even, bend your knee and put your foot flat on the bed or on the ground and just use the pads of your fingers and your thumb and just give yourself a little light self-massage. This technique, by the way, totally cool for the entire practice. This is another option. I will, on Sundays, actually go through and just kind of, it's just an opportunity to really tune in, like, are there any knots here? What's happening? Okay, but again, that's not even necessarily the name of the game. Just noticing, just staying with the feelings in that leg, or the lack of feeling. If you're not feeling it, you're not necessarily doing anything wrong. Slide your attention down to the heel. Feel where your heel is making contact or where it isn't. With the ground or with your seat or your bed. Feel the bottom of your left foot, the sole of it. Feel the arch of the foot. And press into your big toe base. Or sort of rotate one set of toes forward, or I should say one side of your toes forward and then the other. You can actually just feel kind of the undulation, all the different ways that your foot can feel and be felt. Top of the foot now. The entirety of the foot, and then where it connects to the toes. Feeling all the toes in space. And then what if I asked you to just drop right down into the tip of your pinky toe on your left foot? Like almost the furthest extreme away, physically away from sort of the center of consciousness or your own awareness. If it feels like you're up above, projecting down toward your feet, toward that toe. Okay, so we've moved through the lower body, or most of. Let's take that feeling up through the toe of the left pinky toe and into the other toes, and into the foot, and in fact into both feet and sets of toes, both heels, both ankles, the lower legs of both limbs, both knees, not letting any of that go, both thighs, in toward the hips, and then feeling almost like there's like a belt coming across, not belting us down, just tying us together. Good. And one big breath in here, right from the tips of all your toes, up through your feet, your heels, and into your legs. And sigh. And with your next breath, shift your attention into the back of your hips into your bum. So feel your glutes. And you might bring a little bit of light tension, and that's the simplest, I guess, cue. If you're not feeling something, or it often helps in order to feel relaxation to actually bring tension in first, so you have an obvious difference. So I was squeezing my hand there to actually physically show that, but you can tense one of your glute maxes right at the back and then release it. Tense and release. Tense. And I should have specified, let's say your left side. And then moving across toward the tip of your tailbone and to the other side, right glute. Just giving myself sort of 3 little undulations, and then coming up from our belt, out of the hips and toward the waist. Feeling the sides of our waist. For many of us, that there will be a sort of a clear transition out of the hips and down into the waist before it expands up to our ribs. And then let's wrap from either side into our belly. Feeling, there's a lot to feel there. We've got gut reactions, a lot of stress can live in our bellies, but also a lot of power. Maybe bring a little tension to your belly. But try to do so uniformly, so you're not just like bunching up your quote-unquote six-pack. Feel your sides wrapping. Feel like your obliques wrapping down and up to solidify literally the center of your being. If you're seated as opposed to lying, this might feel particularly sort of impactful. Maybe a little less so if you're lying, but that's okay. And if you've got your hands on your belly or the sides of your belly, try to breathe into them. And if your hands aren't there, breathe into where they would be. Breathe into the center of your belly, like where your belly button is. Let it rise effortlessly and then let it fall. And then take your attention around back to your low back. Feel that sort of natural curve that many of us will have in there. It's the lordotic curve of our low back, pulling away, our bodies away from the ground or away from our bed. Can you fill that space in with your next inhale? Pressing your low back down. And I mean, when I say pressing, it's gently. We're letting it expand. We're not exerting effort. Exhale. And now feel 360 degrees. Like sometimes this is described as being like a canister. And obviously canisters can be pressurized, but we're chilling out with our canister here. We're not tensing, we're not gripping, we're not holding. In fact, unless that's what feels like is the right thing to do, we're just letting things be how they are. Feeling open, cultivating a sense of curiosity about what things feel like. Okay. And then take your attention to the lower rim of your front ribs. And again, here you might even work with tactile sensation, like I'm taking the tips of each middle finger and just rolling them from down, kind of above the side of my hip and toward the front, all the way up toward the sternum. And then back down. And then, again, either just working with bare sensation, or you can bring your hands in to the side of your rib cage. And let's breathe into especially the right side. Try to privilege the right side here. You notice if your hands fit there nicely. That exhale, give yourself another couple of breaths on that right side. You may notice that it's not so much pushing in with the hand, but the fingers. It's actively moving with intentionality, with awareness. To actually send the breath there. One last time. And now let's transfer the inhale into the left side ribs. Two more breaths there, your pace, your timing. Letting the breath be as long and as chilled out. Exhaling as it can be without manufacturing that feeling. Just, again, every day is another day, every breath is another breath. Exhale. And I'm actually going to remove my hands, but they could be there resting or not. And let's breathe fully across our chest. One more there. Inhale high, feeling your chest rise. Feeling it expand across as a dome across the front of your body, toward the sides of your body. Exhale. And then inhale into your upper back. Inhale into your scapula, into your shoulder blades. If you are lying, or actually even if you aren't, just taking your elbows out to the side is an option. Fingers pointed down toward the ground or down toward the bottom of your mat or your bed. And then just rotate the arms so that fingers slowly tilt up toward the shoulders. And noticing here especially, if you're moving, and again, you could just be focused in on your upper back as bare sensation. But if you're moving, notice the feeling of the movement coming from your shoulder blades. So it's not so much your hands and arms moving in space. It's your upper back moving your limbs. And when your arms come down, if they're moving, or even if they're not, let them rest. Palms to be turned up. And then bring all your fingers together into two little tips, two little sort of pinches, but not pinching, just connecting. Just gently feel the tips of your fingers against one another. One hand on its own, the other doing its own thing. And then let the fingers go. Feel your fingers in turn. Still breathing through this, of course, but I've started with my pinky finger and then into ring finger. Maybe moving both of them together. This is where we can get super focused, super mindful about how our hands, we often move them as a unit, right? Or really unconsciously. So you might get curious about like, can I move these fingers together? Kind of what about this combo? So moving into middle finger. Maybe all three fingers, maybe just ring and middle, back to just middle, and then index fingers, Peter pointer, maybe all four fingers, and then thumbs. If you ball your hands up, feel them sort of cupping themselves, rolling into themselves. And then on your next inhale, open your hands wide. Spread your fingers as wide as they can get. And then gently release them. Come back into, again, this isn't like a death grip, it's just a gentle bit of tension. Feel the entire hand as a fist, as a ball. And then curl a finger or two in toward your elbow and feel the muscles. This is to help you feel the muscles of the inner arm. If those aren't, it's not immediately calling out to you. A little curl there. Tend to turn that on. And let's do both arms at once. We're gonna go 2 for here. Or curl 1, feel right arm, relax it, curl left, feel left arm. See, I'm kind of riffing, curling both, feel both forearms. I'm riffing here just with sensation of my own body as I move through. And so that's where, you know, often in meditation we talk about students being their own best teachers. There isn't any real, there is no rule book to your body other than you get to decide. Like if you decide that you want to shift your attention around, that is accessible to you all day, every day, if you choose to exert kind of the energy in that way, if you're willing to pay the cost of paying attention. Maybe taking your palms down and feeling, you can actually lift them up a little bit and feel your upper, still with the lower arm, but the top of your lower arms. And lower the hand and allow the upper lower arm to relax. Upper lower arm, that's confusing. Hopefully not confusing in your body. Raise the tips of the fingers again toward the ceiling or toward the front of the room. And release. And then feel your elbows. If you need to engage and bend your arms to do that, go for it. Or rotate them. Or whatever is going to allow you to feel your bones, to feel the muscles surrounding them. Elbows are pretty complex, but they don't feel complex, do they? Just feel whatever's there. And then bring your attention into your upper arms. Biceps at the front, triceps at the back. You can even just bring a gentle kind of rocking motion, moving the lower arms slightly, just a gentle bend in and out of the elbow. And feel each set, how they complement one another, how they're there sort of working in tandem. Move up through the sides of our body. Take your attention into the pits of your arms. You might even kind of move your arms out of the way and give them a little space. Let them breathe. So much shame attached to our armpits. So unnecessary. Allow your attention to move through the fronts of your shoulders into your deltoids, the big muscles, the kind of the big shoulder pads, if you will. Feel the front, and then the top of each. You might even, again, little sort of undulations just to bring a bit of sensation in if there's not much happening there. Feel the back and the sides of your deltoids. And then inhale, feel both right and left shoulder. And exhale down toward your waist, toward the tips of your fingers. Good, and we'll let that go. And pick up our next inhale up from the fingers toward our collarbones. Towards our trapezius muscles, the traps at the top, so over top of our collarbones and connecting to our neck. Can you bring a feeling of calm and relaxation in there, or at least the intention of that? And if you hold a lot of tension in there, almost like you're, again, if this sounds like hocus pocus, just treat it as just that. You don't have to do anything with it. But I actually like to almost talk to the muscles, say it's all good, you can relax. Relax, traps, don't hold tension. This is your time to shine. You can just chill out. Okay. And then moving into your neck. here actually, again, you can work with bare sensation, not moving a muscle, not even even a little bit, or you can bring your fingers to the skin of your neck. And there's a lot of depth there, but just feeling the tensile nature, the kind of ropiness, the strength of the muscles of our neck, connecting into our jaw. And then moving into our jaw. Maybe allow the jaw to open and then gently close and open. And then take the jaw from side to side gently. Feel your cheeks. You can even blow them out by closing your mouth and just creating a bit of pressure. And let it go. Relax your eyes. Oh, so much tension in the eyes. So many screens. You can even take both hands and rub them together again, remembering these are all just suggestions. Create some friction. And then put the palms of your hand onto your closed eyes. If your hands are there, feel your forehead, maybe your hairline. Sweep the palms out to the temples, and then gently come down the cheeks and the side of the face. Feel the rim of your ears. Feel your scalp. The crown of your head. And then we're going to take one body clearing inhale. Hold it all in, not over full, and then gently exhale it all out. So let's just empty. And then inhale. Inhale and exhale. And we begin, or we end where we began. I almost said it in reverse, but it works either way. Feel the entirety of your body in space. Feel it taking up space. Feel the weight of your body. Feel its temperature. Feel the energy in your body. Lots of different traditions explain that energy in a lot of different ways, but I mean just the actual kind of kinetic potential that your body has. And just a final few breaths here. I'm going to leave you in silence just to wrap the practice. Before moving on, maybe thanking yourself, maybe just taking the whole of your somatic body in, maybe noticing how it feels as a whole. Was this relaxing, or was it something else? Just stay with that quietly for a moment. You can thank yourself however you want, but let's thank ourselves. Sometimes we send the gratitude out, sometimes it's, a particular person or all sentient beings or whatever, but today, let's thank actually, not even necessarily the entirety of yourself, just thank your physical body. You could give yourself a hug if that feels right, or what I mean is just being intentional about being thankful. I've got a body. It's not, is it perfect? No, no body is. Does it break down? Yes. Does it get injured? Mm-hmm. Are there points where it causes us pain or discomfort for sure. Is it a place where self-judgment can live? You bet. And yet, it heals itself. It holds us up. It gives us a container for our mind. And it's here with us every day. So it's like a thank you, body. Thanks for all that you do for me. All right. And then we can let that go. And we can let that go knowing that I went long. Even with the clock and checking it, but I was kind of going by the pace of what felt right. If you have drifted off, you're not hearing my words right now. But if you are still with us, then, and if you've drifted off in the course of a I'm saying this more like if you were watching this in the future and get to this part of the thing, say, oh yeah, that happened to me, or that happened to me one time, or all the time, or whatever. Cool. Hey, that's what your body was calling out for, and you gave it to your body. So that's great. But yeah, so the body scan meditation will, like all of the practices, will live online. This is just one of many, many different ways. Again, traditionally it's to linger in one spot and move either from toes up to crown or crown down to toes. But you know, I think that's an iteration. We can pay attention to our body's emotion as opposed to, you know, more meditatively like we were doing today. And paying attention it's a good thing. All right. Any questions for me or anything else? How are we doing out there? Oh, I hear silence. Okay, I'm gonna log off, and I'm hoping, and I'm gonna say goodbye to those of you on the video that you oh, you okay? There you are. You're so welcome, Larissa. You take care. Good. All right, you be well, and you too, Nicole. Oh, you're so welcome. You too, Nicole. Take care of yourself. Okay. Bye-bye. You too.